Importing and exporting AutoCAD files into Revit, and importing underlay images. To begin with, let's talk about importing AutoCAD files for an underlay image, as opposed to an AutoCAD file to be used within the drawings. We'll take a look at importing an AutoCAD file that is a floor plan. To begin with, you'll want to go to your Insert tab and either to your Import panel or your Link panel. Now the difference between linking a CAD file and importing a CAD file is similar in AutoCAD, but the difference between an XREF and a block. If you link an AutoCAD file, it will update within Revit if it ever changes in AutoCAD. If you import a CAD file, it will import and be that layout or that file even if the original AutoCAD file has changed. Let's take a look. We'll start with importing a CAD file. When you select that button, you get a dialog box and you can browse to an AutoCAD file. Here we'll use one that's called 592base4.drawing. When you select that file, you have some options down here that you want to pay attention to. Since we're going to use this AutoCAD file as an underlay to model our building around, we're going to go ahead and preserve the colors. If I was going to use this as a detail and wanted to actually print this out as part of my file, I would probably pick black and white colors. But since I'm going to freeze this or make this file not visible when I'm going to plot, I'm going to go ahead and preserve the colors to help keep track of all the different layers. Speaking of layers, the next option is which layers do you want to import with this AutoCAD file. All of them, whatever was visible the last time you saved it, or if you want to specify them. If you select Specify and you hit Open, Revit will have a dialog box and you can select which layers you want to import. For this instance, we'll pick All. As you work your way through, there's also Import Units. Do you want Revit to auto-detect them, or do you want to select which one? Since Autodesk owns both AutoCAD and Revit, the two file types can speak together fairly easily, and so therefore auto-detect and auto-origin to origin for the positioning, or anything auto, works fairly well. So I'll keep auto-detect and auto-origin to origin as my selection for those two. And continuing on, Revit allows you to decide or to choose which level you want to place this AutoCAD file at. Since we were in level 1 when we were going to insert this file, Revit suggests that we place this AutoCAD file at level 1. We can orient the AutoCAD to the view, which will keep all the lines as straight as they can. And Revit can correct the lines that are slightly off axis. Finally, the last option is if we want this AutoCAD file to be inserted to just the current view or to all of the views. I'm going to keep it unchecked. That doesn't mean I'm always going to see this AutoCAD file in every view. It just means when I first open the view, it will be visible and I'll have to turn it off. If I had selected current view only, then I won't have an option in the other views to see this AutoCAD file. Once I'm happy with all of the selections or choices that I have, options for my AutoCAD file, including the type of file, this is where you can select or choose if you want to import a DWG file, a DXF, a DGN, SketchUp file, or Rhino file. And also, if you want to type in the name, you can type it in here, but it's much easier just to select it up here. So I'm happy with all of the options or selections that I've chosen, and I'm going to say Open. going to say zoom extents, and I can see that the file is down here, and it's got some other lines in the AutoCAD file floating over here, but we don't need to worry about that. Now it's a little off just because of the origin of the AutoCAD file from where I want it, so I'm just going to select it. It has been pinned by Revit automatically, so I'm going to unpin it so I can move it, and I'm going to start moving it. I'm going to grip it by the center and bring it to the center of my Revit file. Now, the first thing I would suggest you do is to make sure that the scale is correct. So what I'll do is I'll scroll over here to where there's a 20-foot dimension between these two grids, and I'm going to use my wall command, and you can see how Revit selects the line for the grid. So it reads that. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to model a wall that's 20 feet long. Now, for whatever reason, you can see that the AutoCAD file is not to scale within the Revit file. In Revit, this wall is 20 feet long, but the AutoCAD file is 20 feet long, is about half the length of this wall. To correct this, we'll need to resize the AutoCAD file. If we select that file and type in RE for resize, then we can select a base point, which will be at this end of the wall. Then we'll pick the next point, which will be along the grid. Actually, I'm going to start over. Resize. I'm going to go from this corner. Base point. And then I'm going to pick this grid here, which should be 20 feet long. Now that I've selected that, now I can drag it to be 20 feet long. Now you can see that the two files are consistent with each other. I'm going to select that wall and erase it. Zoom extends. And I'll need to move this file back to more of where the center is. And then from here, I would, if I'm going to use this as an underlay, pin it back down when I know it's in the right position. And now, because Revit can read these walls, or lines, fairly easy, I can use this as an underlay. If I use my wall command and use a generic 5-inch wall, I can just come along and I'm going to change this to finish face exterior, and Revit will find these endpoints, and you can see how fast modeling this building can go if I have a nice underlay to go from. I went back to. You can even see this in 3 dimensions. If you go to 3D view, you can see how the walls are being placed upon the AutoCAD file. Now the AutoCAD file here is a little confusing because it has all the layers on. Let's take a look at how you might use or show the layers that you want. If you type in VG for Visibility Graphics Override, you can go to the Import Categories tab, and here you can see the file that we have imported. If we expand that, we can see all of the layers that have come in with that AutoCAD file. We've been modeling the floor plan at level 1, so those are all the layers we want to see. You can see that this file has ceiling plan layers for the first level, ceiling plan layers for the second level, demo layers, existing layers, floor plan 1 layers, those are one we will want to keep on, floor plan 2 layers, and roof layers. So we'll select them all and turn them all off. When we turn them all off, we need to make sure that we go back and turn the main one, the root or the parent, back on. So now we can select these. And we'll turn on layer 0, and we will turn on a couple of the background layers. And then we'll come down to floor plan 1 and turn on all the floor plan 1 layers. And lastly, we'll scroll down and turn on the dimensions and the grids. And now you can see floor plan or level 1 that we've been modeling on. Now let's take a look at how we might link or import a CAD file for a detail view or a view that we might actually want to print the AutoCAD file out for. To import an AutoCAD file that we might use, the first thing we'll want to do is create a drafting view. If you remember, we'll go to our View tab and select Drafting View. This will create a blank piece of paper, basically, that we can put anything on and use that view to put onto our sheet. So we'll call this AutoCAD Detail, just so we can keep track of it. And now we have our blank piece of paper, and you can see that over here in our project browser, we have a new view called AutoCAD Detail. Once we put the AutoCAD drawing on here, I'll show you how to place that on a sheet, and then we'll take a look at how you might reference that from a model or a floor plan view or a section view. So now we'll need to go back to our Insert tab, and in this case, let's go ahead and link the CAD file instead of inserting the CAD file or importing the CAD file. If we link the CAD file, this time we will go to a different folder. We'll find the folder with our AutoCAD detail, which is in the detail folder here, and we'll go ahead and pick one of these. And now, since we might want to print this file out, we'll pick black and white colors, and we'll keep the others the same. All the layers, auto detect, auto origin for the positioning, and so forth. So we'll say open, and now we have that file. Once we have this file, there's a title border and a title block or bar that we probably don't want to use within Revit. What we can do now is select this file, and we can use the tool called Query. When we use the tool called Query, we'll select a certain item, and when we do, it tells us the information, what type of object it is, if it's a block name, what layer it's on in AutoCAD. But we can also hide it in view, or we can delete it. So we'll go ahead and hide that in the view, and it got rid of the border and all of the information that the border had. Now we might want to do that with the title as well, since Revit will have its own title. So we're still in the query command, so we can select the title here and say hide that in view. And now we have just the detail itself. You can see that the scale is 1.5 inch equals a foot. Now quickly, let's go to our project browser. We're going to right click and add a new sheet. And there's our new sheet. We did this so I can show you how we put this drafting view of an AutoCAD detail on our sheet. And we just drag that on like so. And now we have a detail. We could redraw this in Revit if we wanted to, but we have the AutoCAD detail right now, and it's black and white, and we can use it to print if we want. What we are missing, however, is a reference for this detail from the actual Revit model. If we go to Floor Plan 1, I'm going to go ahead and turn that other AutoCAD file off that we looked at. And now we just have some walls. If I added some more walls, let's just say we have that corner. And let's close some of these windows. Now, if we wanted to call this detail out from our floor plan, we would go to our View tab, and we could create a call out. Instead of creating our call out right now, which would show us a blow up of, for instance, this corner, before we do that, we want to reference another view. And once we make this selection, we can go to this drop-down menu, and it will be a list of all the other drafting views, detail views, or any section view that's a detail that we could select from. So far, we only have one extra one, so there's only one to pick from, and that is the AutoCAD drawing that we created. When you reference other views, it's not necessarily an AutoCAD detail. It's any detail that you've created so far in the existing file. Now that we've selected the reference other view and picked which one we wanted to reference, we can now create our call out. And you can see that it calls out for detail 1 on sheet A101. And if we look over here, we can see that this is sheet A101. And if we scroll over to our drafted view, we can see that it's detail 1. If we highlight that view and change the number, it updates over here as well. Now let's take a look at how we might import a drawing of a floor plan as an underlay. So we'll import a JPEG of a floor plan and use that as an underlay to create our floor plan. I'm going to go ahead and delete what we've done so far. And then we'll turn off that view and we'll just look at our floor plan level 1. Again, we'll go back to our Insert tab and we will, instead of importing a CAD, we will insert an image, which is this icon here. You can see all the different image types or files that Revit can import: PNG, TIFF, JPEG, PNP. We need to go find where our JPEG of a floor plan is. And we'll pick this one. And you can see you can place it wherever you want in Revit. We'll place it right in the middle of the elevations. And like we did with the importing of the CAD, we'll need to make sure that this is the right scale, and it looks like it's a little skew. It's not quite horizontal here. So we'll fix that. I'm going to go ahead and draw a wall to see how off it is. And you can see it's just a little bit off, but might be off enough to make a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to select this and I'm going to rotate this just a little bit and try to get it a little bit better. I think that might be better. I'm going to straighten up my wall and let's line these up and see if that looks a little bit better. Now, we know that this dimension is 12'4", and just like we did with the AutoCAD drawing, we're going to select this wall and make it 12 feet 4 inches. And we'll slide it to one end, and now we need to match the JPEG to the same scale as the wall or the Revit file. So we'll resize RE, the JPEG, and this time the base point will still be at the corner of the wall. We'll drag over here to where the 12'4" dimension ends and drag it to the corner of the wall that is actually 12'4". We can see that we now have a wall that's 12'4" and it matches the JPEG. Doesn't have to be exactly precise, just close enough as we trace this JPEG that it matches closely. So we'll go ahead and create some walls, and it won't snap to the JPEG. This is a raster image, not a vector, so it has nothing to snap to, but it gives us a visual clue on where these walls should be going. And we know that was 12'4". We can look that this was going to be 1'6" going up. And then we want 8'1" to come over to this side. And you get the idea, and you can work your walls all the way around the building, and it's a fast way, again, to have a visual representation. The last thing we'll take a look at in this video is exporting a Revit file into an AutoCAD drawing. I use this often if I need to give my drawings to consultants that only work in AutoCAD. So usually I am exporting sheets that I have created into AutoCAD. You can see here I've created a small little project and have put the 3D view, the door schedule, a section, floor plan, and elevation view all on one sheet. So we'll export this and take a look at it in AutoCAD. To export this, you'll go to your File tab, to the Export option, and at the top, CAD Formats, and we'll pick AutoCAD Drawing. Here you want to take a look at all of your options. You can export it as a setup, but I mainly look over here. And the two options to export are the current view and sheet, or the in session all the views and sheets. If you pick the second one, you get a different or an additional option. Here you can pick the views in a set, or the sheets in a set, or all the views and sheets in a set. Or you can pick views in the model, which is every view created, or the sheets in the model, which in this case I've only created one sheet, or all the views and sheets in a model. We'll go ahead and select the one sheet that we've created, and we'll make an AutoCAD file out of that. So once we have selected what we want to export, we'll click Next, and we have some more options to take a look at. First, where are we going to place this? So we need to browse and put it where we want to make sure we can find it. And we'll go to the desktop, and I have created a folder called AutoCAD Export. And so we'll put it in here. We can call it Project 1, that's fine. Next is which version of AutoCAD do we want to create this. If someone that we need to give this sheet to has not upgraded up to one of the most current versions of AutoCAD, we can select a previous version. And then how do we want Revit to name it? A long name, which we can specify, or a short name. Short name is fine with me. The very last one is an important option to take a look at. This is exporting views on sheets and links as XREFs, or external references. If you check this, then each of the views that are on the sheet will be its own AutoCAD file and will be XREF'd onto the title block. If you uncheck it, it will be one AutoCAD file with the views in model space. The title sheet will be in layout space, but it'll be one AutoCAD file. Let's take a look at that first. As soon as we hit OK, it thinks for a little bit, and now it has exported it. We'll go to our desktop and find our folder. So we have one 3D view drawing and we have an A101 drawing. Let's open that one. And you can see in our layout view that we have our 4 drawings and the door schedule all in AutoCAD. And then we can go to our model and you can see that they're all lined up here. And we can list these things, these objects, and you can see that they are in fact lines, and they've been created on layers that Revit has created within AutoCAD. Let's go ahead and close this and take a look at if we picked the XREF option. I'm going to go ahead and delete these files. And we'll go to, again, and we'll export CAD format, drawing. We'll do the same thing we did last time, all the same, except for when we get to next, we'll check the export views on sheets as XREFs. It'll think for a while, and let's take a look at the difference. So now that Revit's done, we can go back to that folder. We can see that there's quite a few files, that AutoCAD files that Revit has created. And if we open up the A101 drawing, we can see that it has the 4 drawings and the door schedule, very similar to the last time we did it. But this time it created XREFs, and we can see that if we go to the model view, here they are lined up, and if we list one of them, you can see that it is a block, and if we read here, we can see that it is in fact an external reference. So when you export, you can pick which one you want, either putting it all as one file or creating an X reference out of the different views.